Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are changing out the knock sensors on the O2 Avalanche. It's going to be a long video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn the bell on, and I'm going to give you a list of tools that we're going to use to get this job done. Here are some of the tools you're going to need. Torque wrench, 8mm socket, 10mm socket, 22mm socket, flathead screwdriver, different sizes of extensions, 3/8 ratchet, needle nose pliers, vice grips, a couple towels, a quick release for the fuel, and your part, the knock sensors. I got both knock sensors and a connector, and you're gonna need a shop vac or a vacuum of your choice. The first thing I'm gonna do is start the truck, let it run, and I'm gonna come out and take this fuse out. This is the fuel pump relay, and it's gonna make the truck die out, but it's also gonna drop the pressure of the fuel lines. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my towel, place it under the cover, and I don't know if you can see, but up under there is a little valve right back there. And I'm gonna take my flathead, push it in there. It's like almost like taking the air out of a bike tire, and that'll depressurize the system just a little bit more. Then we'll come up here, take the 8mm out of the top of this vortex cover. Next, you want to remove this whole cold air intake or air box from the throttle body all the way down to the mass airflow sensor. Disconnect this clamp holding the radiator hose, pull it out of this housing, and push down on this radiator hose to come out of that seating there. Next thing we're going to do, I put a towel up under the carburetor. You got a coolant line there and another coolant line down there. Take those two lines out. Got a connector here on the throttle and a connector here on the throttle body. Take those two connectors out. Then we're going to jump to the top and take out the three 10mm bolts on top of this plate. Now we're going to remove the fuel injector plugs. I'm on the passenger side. And this little clip, you just pull up, pull out, and then there's a gray push pin. You push that in, and then it should pop out. This clip do come all the way out. So let me get all 8 of these out. 4 on this side, and 4 on this side. So I got all the connectors loose off the fuel injectors on both sides. Now I'm going to take a 8mm and take off the intake. Just loosening up the bolts. There's 5 on this side and 5 on this side. So with all the intake bolts loosed, what I'm going to do, way in the back, I'm going to disconnect the map sensor. Disconnect the evap. You gotta pull a white clip forwards or backwards, pull up, disconnect the evap connector, disconnect the alternator plug on this big wire harness loom. disconnect this clip here, and then it would be a 10mm nut. I don't have one. If you have one, take that off. Then you got one of two choices here, or you can follow it back to behind the engine. I'm gonna take this clip off the brake booster, move it back, and unplug this. I got the map sensor disconnected, the evap and the plug disconnected. Got the alternator plug disconnected. I don't have the 10 here. I have to loosen the 2 wire looms, and I have my brake booster disconnected. Next, we're going to disconnect the PCV valve hose that just pulls out, and this blue connector, you're going to disconnect that. That is your knock sensor. Disconnect the connector and pull it off of the housing. Now you can go ahead, put your towel down, take off the clip on the fuel line. It just pops up, come out, and use your special tool on whatever choice you got and disconnect that fuel line. Now once you get your fuel line off, you can remove your towel, and the intake should be ready to come on out. You should be able to pull it up and out. Be mindful of the openings on the side where the gaskets go. Make sure nothing gets in there. And since it's all apart, it's best to take a vacuum or a shop vac and just vacuum anything down there. So when you remove and install the new knock sensors, don't nothing get inside the motor that way either. Once you get your fuel lines disconnected, your intake will come up and out. Be mindful, you will have debris down there. So I'm using a shop vac, and I'm going to try and clean that up as best as I could, and then I'm going to take some paper towels or a towel and just cover all the opening on both sides of the motor. But those 2 round things, there's a rubber boot here and there, and there's a connector here. This is your knock sensor connector. You're going to pull these boots up. They just pop up and feed around the wire, and it's a connector on both of them, and unscrew it with the 22mm. That's where your knock sensors are located. So I'm gonna get this all cleaned up, get the new knock sensors in and the plugs in. So I cleaned everything up best I could, took the boots out and the connectors off of the knock sensors. Now these are getting replaced as well, these plugs, because it came with the kit. And the knock sensors sit right in those 2 holes. Get you a 22mm socket extension ratchet, take those 2 out, insert the new ones, put the electrical connector on, and put your intake back down. Now I'm not going to show y'all putting mine back down, but when y'all see it done, my intake will be sitting up there. These are the old knock sensors. These are the new ones with the connector. Okay, I'm back. I got my intake on. Knock sensors is 15 foot-pounds. That's the torque spec. And the intake is a 2-step process. I'll put a diagram up on the screen. But the first go around will be 44 inch-pounds. And the second go around will be 89 inch-pounds. Moving on, we can connect the evap line, the connector, and a PVC line. Make sure it clicks in there. You gotta find the connector and the PVC line goes up into that boot there. Map sensor in the back gets connected. Alternator gets connected. Throttle body gets connected. There's 2 plugs on mine. Oh, that's the wrong one. Feed this up. Plug this one in. Got the brake booster. Let me get these plugged in. Install the 2 fuel lines, top to the top, bottom to the bottom. Install fuel injectors. Make sure the clips are in on this side as well as this side. Put your harness back up here. Remember, I didn't have a 10mm nut on there. Clip the harness into this little slot. You got a knock sensor in the back we got to plug up. I don't think I can do it with one hand. Get your ass up here. Come on, bitch, just go in. Yeah, I can't do it with one hand. You got your coolant line. Go to the throttle body. That just pushes in. And then you got the 2 coolant lines up under the throttle body. One on this side, one on that side. Let me get those in. Now is the time to double check and triple check. Make sure everything you took off is put back on. We got our knock sensor, the blue and black plug plugged in. Brake booster line, fuel lines, the clips, fuel injectors on both sides of the motors. I haven't put my clips in yet, so make sure you put those in. Those goes into the fuel injectors. We got both of the coolant lines plugged in at the bottom. Throttle body sensors, alternator, EGR, the connector, PVC. Only thing that's left to do is put our little plate back over the top, which is down here, and our cold air intake and our cover. This just sits over the top. It's plastic, 3 10mm bolts. Got our plastic plate on. Now these little clips come up. And I just snap it to here. Just take them and snap them in there. And that's all. Get your cover, put it back on. 8mm in the middle. Tighten it down. Last thing to do is install your cold air intake. And I gotta connect my air filter. Got our cold air intake on. We got our mass flow air sensor plugged in. And that's it. O2 Avalanche knock sensor replacement. Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe. Leave me a comment, let me know what you think. See you in the next video.